Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Chris back with my thought of the day or breaking transfer news, whatever you want to call this. But it sounds like Newcastle United are about to sell a player, one of our own, as the chant goes. Sean Longstaff looks very much like he's about to leave Newcastle United after 9 years at the football club, over 300 appearances, I think 20 or 37 goals, 26 assists. Sean Longstaff, one of our own, looks like he's going to Leeds United. Great football club. Got a lot of time for Leeds. We're going to talk about this right now, and the fee as well. So Leeds United have been long-term admirers of Sean Longstaff. And before we get into that, about Sean Longstaff and how he's maybe divided fan opinion over certainly the last kind of couple of years, really. You're talking about a 27-year-old player, peak of his powers. You know, he's got over 200 appearances in the Premier League. He runs all day long. You know, he's got some good attributes he can bring to a newly promoted side. And Leeds United are a huge football club, right? Get that right. All these people who live and die by the fact whether you're in the Premier League or not. Leeds United are a massive football club. They've got a great history. One of the biggest clubs in this country, bar none. And I think personally the Premier League is richer for having Leeds United in it rather than not having it in it. And I'm really glad that Sean Longstaff looks like he's about to leave one massive football club in the north and head to another one as well, where I think he'll be revered, he'll be loved by the Leeds fans, because what Sean gives you is he gives you everything that he's got. You know, what he's got maybe hasn't been good enough for Newcastle over the last couple of years in terms of the upward trajectory that the club is on. I'll get into that in a second, but I've got a good mate who's a Leeds fan. Shout out to Dicko if he's watching this, and he was very much impressed with the links to Sean Longstaff, as a lot of Leeds fans are. I've seen there's no snobbery with Leeds fans. I remember when Sean was linked to Manchester United and Goldbridge was, oh no, Longstaff, you're joking, United, you're joking, you know, because they're so snobby and they think that they can get better players than that. They ran Scott McTominay out of town, who was likened to Sean Longstaff in many ways in terms of what he was bringing to the game, and look how good he's doing at Napoli. So Manchester United, maybe you're the problem, not the players you've been linked to. But going back to Sean, it's Sean the player and Sean the lad. I'm going to break this down. So Sean the lad, I think he's an absolutely lovely lad. I've never met him personally. I've met his family a couple of times. Really nice family, really nice, well-grounded Geordie family. Great values they've obviously taught him and Matty, because they both come across as such likeable, humble lads. You wouldn't think they were professional footballers if you didn't know that they were. And Sean's always had that kind of, you know, vibe about him, that kind of personality. He's always been a really, really nice kid. You know, Rafa Benitez gave him his debut. He broke through. I think it was 2016. I think his first professional games with us. He broke through under Rafa's season. You know, he'd been away on loan. I think he'd been away to it was a Kilmarnock. I think had a really good spell there. It was a Blackpool on loan as well, as memory serves. And he come back into the team, and he was actually a breath of fresh air at a time when Newcastle were really struggling for energy, for legs, you know, for any kind of dynamic play. And he really stood out, showing, you know, his work rate. I think he actually made his debut, ironically enough, at Anfield, which is very, very ironic, given that we're never shutting up about that club at the minute. And he was good. He didn't look out of place. We obviously lost the game, because that's what Newcastle did back then. They lost games quite regularly. But he really came through, Sean, and he was a breath of fresh air. He looked bright, he looked lively. Energy. There was one point we had the conversation as to who was better, him or Declan Rice, and you know that obviously disappeared quite quickly when Declan Rice just went up like that, and Sean kind of stayed level. He had a bad injury against West Ham. I think that kind of set him back a little bit. Then the change of manager happened. Rafa Benitez moved on, and the Baron of Bacon, well, you know, came in, and you actually thought that Bruce would have really put his arm around Sean Longstaff and looked after him, given the fact he was a Geordie lad and, you know, wanting to promote that. And, you know, he'd been at Manchester United when the class of 92 came through, and you would have thought he would have valued that. He gave Matty his debut. I remember seeing Sean and Matty playing against Manchester United. I think it was against Pogba and possibly McTominay in midfield, or even Fred. And they were absolutely outstanding. Matty and Sean, you know, Sky were salivating over the pair of them, calling Sean the new Longstaff and Matty the new Scholes. And wow, how far away we've gone from that. Matty's now playing in Toronto. It looks like Sean's about to leave the football club. And, you know, it's a real shame that happened. But Sean bounced back from that. I think Steve Bruce was a very bad man manager for him. Sean went on record and said his mental health was you know, really damaged by dealing with Bruce in the way that he was, with probably both him and Matty. You know, Matt Ritchie, big shout out to him, I think gave Sean that help that he needed as not just a professional, but a good bloke as well. And Sean got that help that he needed, and he bounced back solid. Eddie Howe really improved him as a player. You know, he was covering ground, he was scoring goals, he was creating, and you know, he was absolutely brilliant for Eddie Howe, Sean Longstaff, you know, for a period of time. And then we signed Sandro Tonali, and there was a time when he was getting a game ahead of Sandro Tonali when maybe his form didn't warrant it, and that's when fans started to get a little bit frustrated with Sean. But me personally, I've been frustrated with Sean, and before anybody comes in the comments, yes, I've criticised him as a footballer, as a player, and his performance. It was never personal. I've always had a lot of time for Sean Longstaff, and I've always caveated that by saying he's a lovely kid. And I think most Newcastle fans, anyone who's even criticised him, maybe a little bit too much, would say the same thing. As a lad, he seems like a lovely kid, and and no one's ever questioned that. You see him doing the press stuff with the club, and he always seems like a real bubbly character, a very likeable lad. Longy, they all call him. They love him to bits. And there'll be a sad day for the squad if Sean's about to go. Likes of Dan Burn, him and Dan Burn are really close as well, and he's probably helped the likes of Bruno and Joe Linton settle. I still remember that great interview that he did when the Sky guy turned around to Joe Linton. I can't remember his name now, but he's a right tit. And he said, "Oh, but who knew you were that good?" And Sean Longstaff laughed. And then he actually had the guy on toast, and it was future captain material type stuff. He said, "We all know he's that good. You want to play on his team in training because if you play with Joe, you win." And Joe Linton kind of gave him a little tap and said, "Thanks, mate." Because Sean was looking after his teammate there, and that's the kind of characteristics that Leeds United are about to get as a player. And I think Sean needs this reset. He needs this chance to start again, because I think what's happened at Newcastle is we've evolved over the last 18 months to 2 years. We have better players in there: Sandro Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes, Joe Linton, and even Louis Miley breaking through, who looks like he's got a lot more to his game than Sean has. He maybe doesn't have Sean's energy. I'll give you that in his prime. I remember Sean, the 2 goals against Southampton in the cup semi-final. I was there. It was unbelievable. It was like a Frank Lampard-esque performance. Goal against Paris Saint-Germain. He's had huge moments for this football club, Sean Longstaff, and no one will ever take that away from him. Even his most devoted critics will never take that away from him. But the club has evolved. The players have evolved. The squad roster has got better, and I just don't think Sean has raised his game up to those levels. We saw Elliot Anderson leave the football club and go to Nottingham Forest, and that was real disappointing for the football club, and we can't be in that position again with Lewis Miley. I don't think that Sean Longstaff's kind of existence within the squad can prohibit Lewis Miley's growth anymore. Lewis Miley's ready to be a key member of this squad, a key member to cover the likes of Bruno, Tonali, and Joe Linton as well. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what Lewis Miley can do with the pre-season under his belt. But going back to Sean, I think this is a good move for Sean. 15 million is fair price in his last year of his contract for a 27-year-old player, and a very likeable player, and a player that I'm sure Eddie Howe will miss, the squad will miss. But I think in terms of Leeds United, I think they're going to get a real solid Premier League player who's going to run his nuts off for Leeds United. He can go into tackles, he can create, he can score goals. And I think Sean will feel that release, feel that reset, take that burden off of his shoulders of being a Newcastle lad, who played for the football club. I know I've heard that before, and I've questioned it at times, but I think when it comes to Sean, maybe the extra pressure is there, but I think the extra pressure's been there potentially as well because the manager's played him over what looks to be much better players. But I think the minute Tonali was dropped into that 6 role kind of spelt the end of Sean Longstaff's career at Newcastle United, and then Lewis Miley doing what he did, just kind of rubber stamp that. But Sean is a decent Premier League footballer, for maybe a mid to lower half Premier League team. And that's not me being, negative towards Sean Longstaff. I think that's probably his level right now. He's not a top 6 Premier League midfielder, and that's okay. There's a lot of players who aren't at that level, a lot of players. And I just don't think Sean can be there. There's other players at this club in the squad that will probably be moved on in the years to come who fill the same kind of category that Sean fills. Good, honest lads, hard-working players, but the quality isn't there to take you into that next tier of quality where you want to be in the Premier League. And if Sean is to leave the football club, I think all Newcastle fans will say the same thing. Thank you for everything that you've done while in the black and white shirt, Sean. You've been, a brilliant player for us in key moments. I think the last couple of years has been a real struggle for you. Certainly on the pitch, you've overcome your off the pitch struggles as well, which is testament to you as a character as well. And I hope that he goes and rips it up at Leeds United, and I hope that he does really, really well. The fee itself is 50 million. Quite ironic that, because apparently Newcastle are 50 million short of doing the deal for Ekitike, so make of that what you will. A lot of people are joining the dots there. But yeah, Sean Longstaff goes over his good graces. I don't think he'll get any shit when he comes back to St James's Park, if it is in a Leeds shirt, the way it looks like it's going to be. I think everyone will wish him well. The Leeds fans will be happy they've got a good, solid Premier League player, hopefully a player that can give them a chance to stay in the Premier League, because that's key for Leeds. It's going to be tough. It's tough for all the promoted sides. Sunderland are doing a lot of business right now, signing a lot of players, a lot of unknown quantity players that could either sink or swim in the Premier League. Well, at least with Sean Longstaff, he's Premier League proven and he can do a job there. So best of luck to Sean. I say, let us know in the comments below what you guys think about this move. Do you think, like me, it's probably about time? It's the right move for Sean. It's the right move for the football club. And again, do you wish him well like myself? Or are you glad that he's gone? Let us know in the comments. We always like to hear from you. No need to be an arsehole about it. This is all just football chat. We're here to talk about the team we call United and the players that play with it, or the players who are about to leave the football club as well. Like and subscribe. Keep it evermore. We will back with some more banter soon. Best of luck, Sean. And thanks for watching. Cheers.
Heroes celebrate. They have done it.